All right, there we go. Now, I kind of like what Daryl said. So let's do a technology check. Can you hear the words coming out of my mouth? That was pretty funny. And then let me also know that you guys can see the screen. I got this updated. Bueno, bueno. Thank you, Daryl. Yes, thank you very much. Well, welcome, everybody. Today is going to be a fun, actually, I guess tonight. I'm up here in basically the Seattle, Washington area, Tacoma, Gig Harbor more specifically. And it is still daylight up here. It's 5 o'clock where I am. Of course, it should be a little bit daylight, but it stays light until 10 o'clock, which I kind of love. It gives me so much time in the day to do things. So I have yet to really have to spend much up here. Scoops, you're in Gig Harbor, man. Yeah, we're on Walatcha Bay. So we're looking at the water right now. Got a view while I'm talking to you all guys. But yeah, I have yet to really spend a real winter up here for any length of time other than, say, Christmas or the holidays. So we'll have to see if I ever do that one of these days. Maybe 2020 is the time with all this COVID lockdown stuff. And the other thing is I had a little fun with this. I did update the webinar, as you can see. And this is this week. This is Monday. This is what I'm talking about. It was like, what, 2 days ago? So the original presentation is about how I made $100,000 in a single day after the COVID crash using just stocks. Now, I trade just stocks. If you guys trade options, I got something for you on that. But this was just Monday. So I just thought I'd have a little fun with it, add to it. I'm going to talk about that trade as well and cover that and show you guys what I did. So yeah, it's been fun and exciting to say the least, and welcome on board. I'm glad everybody's here and we're gonna have a good time. So let's kind of get into it. Glad that everybody can hear and see me just fine. And what you'll be discovering tonight is the breakthrough that led to my first $100,000 day plus the $80,000 day. New tricks for capturing explosive moves and getting out before devastating drops. Because in this kind of market, I think we've been seeing these explosive moves, right? But then we also need to be aware that also in this market, we've been seeing these horrendous drops. And if we are not quite ready for those, then they can really wipe out our account. Or if we get in just as one of these things starts, then we just waste our money. And we need to be very careful about that. So ups and downs, very, very important. And adjustments that I've had to make given the new vibe of the market. And let me tell you, there is definitely a new vibe ever since we've recovered from the COVID crash. And then we'll talk about massive sector rotation that has started the next bull run that I think most traders won't see. And funny enough, as I've been making the class and everything, I've kind of been talking about this for a while now. It's been coming. I've just started seeing them percolate a little bit more today. So I think that my idea of what's going on still persists. And then I know a lot of you have been asking about the new tools, anything else, any updates that I've done to the indicator and to the Moxie system, anything like that. Well, the tools are still the same, but I have added this. It is the Moxie watch list. And I figured we needed something a little bit edgier, as Rebecca would say. You know, we need something like with sharp knives to sharpen our knife on that. So I talked to Eric and I said, hey, what can we do about this? What are some ideas that you have? He said, well, how about a watch list? You don't have something with that for Moxie? And I said, cool, what do you got? So we worked up this, and then I did some tweaking and came back to it. And now we've got a good, ready final product. We're still working on packaging for the class on the 8th, which is this Saturday. And yeah, so this is what we have. And it's going to be pretty neat because what it does is on the Moxie system on the weekly, it'll tell you if, you know, the indicator's crossing above, or if it's crossing above there or below or anything, or if we have a look back trigger. So I'll dive into this a little bit further in the session. But just to let you know that with this kind of market, something like this has been pretty handy to kind of expedite all the work that we have to do going through it. All right, so why listen to me? Like, who am I? What am I talking about? What am I here for? And what's so, you know, newfangled and special about me? Well, since the market has reached the bottom, you know, the COVID bottom of March, I've had some of my best trading ever. I hope you all have been having some good success because this is a pretty good market once we kind of figured things out. But it took some time. It was, don't get me wrong, I definitely had some fits and starts and it was a challenge. But now that I've kind of gotten in the groove, I've had some really good successes. So my biggest percent gain was back at late March when things turned around. It was 22% for an entire account, and I just trade stock. And then a couple months ago on the 5th, it was my biggest dollar gain. I'll go into that a little bit further as well. And then just the other day, on the 3rd of August, another big day and my second largest cash day to boot. So pretty good, pretty happy about all that, and I'll be diving into it. Now, the other thing about what I do is I have multiple accounts, mostly with my family and whatnot, and I trade basically the same way I trade in the small accounts as with the large accounts. And I talk about this because it's important for those of you who have smaller accounts or those who have bigger accounts, because I say I trade the same. Everyone always asks me, like, how much money do I need in order to get started trading? And the first answer I have is none, because you should be paper trading, because you're bound to push the wrong button or just do something wrong. I've done it. I pushed the wrong button and lost a lot of money. After that, once you kind of get comfortable, then I say it doesn't matter. You just need to have enough money to be able to buy one share in a couple different stocks. Because if you look at my screenshots here and what I do, you can see that even my small accounts go up by the same percentage, right, as my bigger accounts. Oh, maybe not that one, but that one. And then you can see over here, you know, they're all roughly about the same. Some of them I had some different positions in because some of them are Roths, and so I can't move money as quickly. But I trade them all fairly much the same. So no matter what kind of account size you have, you can take the kind of trading that I do and still get these kind of returns that you would like. So what about options? As I said, I know who I'm presenting to. I know this is simpler trading, and it used to be simpler options. I know all you guys love options. Well, I'm not really much of an options person, but that doesn't mean that I can't help you. And if you trade options, knowing where the price will or won't go, and won't is very important too, because you guys like to sell things. You like to sell where price won't go, and then you can profit based on that depreciation of the option value. And so that's really important. And based on the way that I teach, how I trade and where price will go, and the fact that you can then reliably work on that, well, then you can start doing your own little setups and your own little option stuff. And imagine the kind of moves that I'm getting leveraged with options. Think about that. So you guys could do pretty well if you just want to buy straight calls, straight puts, or whatever, or do a vertical or do something, you know. And I have very, very capable traders who are subscribed to me, and really they subscribe to me because they want me to do the legwork of going out there and searching the market and knowing my indicator as well as I do, and just having a good feel for the market. You know, maybe they have a day job and they just want me to go and say, hey, here's something I'm going to bring to you. This is what it's looking like. This is what I think, and go do your own thing with it. You want to do a vertical? You want to sell something? Great, all that kind of stuff. And then those who actually like to trade their own, well, they take my Moxie system and the principles and the indicator, and they apply it to their own trading. And now, based on how I teach, they know when price is not going to go someplace. It's going to roll over, and they can go sell something up above it. So it's pretty neat. Definitely viable for option traders. Now, what is the deal with this market, right? Why are we talking here? What are we here for? There is a different vibe, and it's not just the Fed. It's not just the Fed throwing in a ton of money, which, you know, of course, that's great, but it is a bunch of new traders coming to the market. Everybody's on lockdown, then they got some COVID money, and they said, well, the only thing I've ever known is when the market goes down big, you buy because it's bound to come back, right? Well, you know, you put, it's the perfect storm, you put all this stuff back together, and what do we have? Charles Schwab, 58% increase, right? And then TD Ameritrade, 149% increase in new members, new users. E-Trade, 169%. This is unprecedented in such a short amount of time. This is crazy. And then how about Robinhood? You know, look at this. This is their chart of Robinhood positions and people coming in. And then you can see the COVID lockdown, just look at that thing. It just skyrocketed. So we definitely have some interesting influences. We love it. You know, welcome aboard. We're thrilled to have more and more people in here joining this. I think this is a great thing because we want more people doing what we do. And we want to be helping more people get their financial success and financial independence, just like what we do here. So more people to the market, by all means, welcome aboard. But it's kind of been having some effects on the market that we need to be aware of. The other thing that has brought people to the market and made things the way they are is the access to trading. So what you can see is that there basically are no barriers to entry anymore. You can trade on your phone, you can do whatever you want, and you have fractional shares even if you can't buy $1,400 worth of shares on Google for just one share. You know, now Apple is doing their stock split back to about 100 or so, and that's going to make that more affordable. But think about it, you know, if you want some of these FANG stocks, fractional shares. So yeah, anybody can get into the market, no commission. Welcome aboard, and it's very neat, especially the no commission things. Kind of makes me want to say, hey, where's all my money? Can I get those back? All right, now this is kind of where we get to the crux of the situation. What the COVID crash really taught me, and this is what's really important. This is what we were talking about in the emails the last couple days, is that I trade, I have my own money, all that kind of stuff. My dad, my family had their money with a typical investment firm or whatever, basically believing that there was some safety there. They had a strategy, they're an institutional status, gave them pedigree and protection. And what we kind of thought was, okay, there's some security here. They can go to cash, or they can move to bonds, or they see this coming, or anything, just literally anything. And what happened was, you can see here, this was when the crash happened, and this is a snapshot of my family's account with Schwab. And you can see it basically followed the market lockstep down. It followed the S&P like percent by percent by percent, and it really frustrated, really angered me. And I looked into the accounts, and I looked into some of the positions that they had. And even more angered me is that they had positions like OXY, Occidental, it was being in a downtrend for 2 years. Why are they in something like this? And then I looked at another thing. They bought at a top somehow, and then it went down 40%. They're still in it. And it just made me think, you know what, all they did is just probably put in some computer programs that you have to buy a certain number of some things, and then they just hang on to it. I have no idea what their process is for either getting in or getting out of this stuff. And so what I learned is that basically we had a false sense of security and about what they were, about their pedigree and all this. And it just really frustrated me. So I then looked at my account, and I thought, well, what am I doing? Notice, here's February 24th. Do you really see anything? Maybe when my stops got hit, they started coming off a little bit. And then I saw what was happening, and I started to make money. Look at this, when the market was going down. Now, I did get a little something wrong right there. Something went wrong for a week, but here's the key point. Do you see that? Went wrong, corrected it, came right back. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I can do. And it looks, other than that little rollback, I'm right back to where I began. So this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Does it look like anything happened here with Corona? No, and that's the whole point. That's what I want to do, and I told my family, I said, look, let me go do something about this. So I decided to take matters into my own hands, and like many of you have decided to do, and that's why you're here, is that you're wanting to do this yourself. You're like, I'm smart, I can do this, I got my own money, like why pay somebody else to do this, especially when, Wall Street maybe has failed us a couple times and all this other stuff. Let me go do my own thing. Maybe you find it exciting, all that. So this is what happened. And so now I'm managing all of my family's money, and I've surpassed the total account value from before the crash, despite the S&P, not to maybe back up here a little bit, but despite the S&P still not being at its previous highs. Now here's where it gets interesting. If you guys have ever done the math, if you have let's say you have $100 and you lost 50%, you can't just make 50% to get back to even. You have to make 100% just to get back to break even. So the math does not work in our favor when we start losing money. So for example, the SPY went down 35%, and so did my family's account, as you saw, it was a snowplow going down there, which means the market needed to grow 54% just to get back to break even. Is that likely? Have you ever seen the S&P go up 54%? I mean, it's done a hell of a job, and same with the Qs, but this investment firm wasn't necessarily following the Qs. They were doing what the market was doing, and the SPY is the market. So between those big days that I showed you, 22%, 16%, and 12%, I've earned back 50% just on these 3 days alone. And we've been doing this for how many months now? Now, of course, there are down days. Yeah, I get that. But my down days definitely aren't this big, nor are they this big. So I'm telling you, even if I only had these 3 days and just sat on my hands the rest of the day, I have already earned back all the money that my family needs just to get back to break even. But I've done more than that. So now we go into the 100,000 day. What the heck happened? What was going on with this? What was going on? So I don't know if you guys remember, but back around here, early June, officials, from the administration and some other people were saying that, vaccine was likely by the end of the year, something like that. And so they're starting to get some attention. People are starting to think, oh, okay, vaccine's ready. Okay, now we can plan for a vaccine, right? They say it's going to be ready by the end of the year, maybe even sooner. Okay, so what are we going to do? What industries would benefit most from a return to normalcy? Okay, so I started thinking about that. And then I also started to think about something else. Since the COVID lows, the stocks wouldn't go lower, they would just go flat. I thought that was a very interesting thing to know. It's like, okay, the Fed or just sentiment out there, they're not going lower, they're just hanging out, they're just waiting. They're just waiting for something else, something new, something to change. And so I thought about this with this, vaccine news, and I thought, well, where is this going to go? And so I started my scanning. Now, I have had ASNA on my list for quite some time just because I keep things on my list, but it did pop up on my trampoline scan. And this is when price is below the moving average of the Moxie indicator is above 0, and it showed up. And I thought, okay, well, this looks pretty interesting. And then I started mentioning it. I was, got in, it was looking pretty good on the lower time frames. And I was going to, I'm an end of day trader, so I was going to start getting in by the end of the day. And then I mention it to you guys in the option room. And even then it starts popping up. I'm like, oh, geez, now you guys are going to front run even my own trade. So I have to hurry up, get out of there when I finish my session. I hop in, I go over, I tell my traders to hop in. And then by the end of the day, this thing pops up right there. We're already making some good money. And then the next day, I couldn't believe it. I had to go fly from Washington back down to Texas. I had to scramble already to get on a plane because they canceled flights because of everything that was going on. So I had to fly to Houston just to then get to Austin. It was a whole thing. But it was the one time I actually had to pay to buy internet on an airplane. And it's $15 for whatever. But I think it was worth it because I was able to have internet access and I was able to watch this thing during the day. And I got out up here and told the subscribers, take some gains off, cash them in. This thing isn't going to last like this. And so I was able to pocket $103,000 while I was on an airplane. So, John Carter's got his plane trade where the market goes down. I guess I got my plane trade where the market goes up and we make some pretty good stuff. So pretty happy about that one. And then here's my other one. Might as well be another plane trade because this one is when this was Monday. I just made $80,000 in a day. This is my sister, if anybody's asking, but we took our airplane and I flew her out from here in Washington to the Oregon coast because her husband, my brother-in-law, his parents live out there. And then we were trying to figure out a time that we could go surfing, and this looked like a pretty good weekend. So the two of us flew out there. We met him. He was already there. And we're out by the beach. He told me, I think this is in the Goonies. Maybe somebody can, Seaside is where we're at. So if anybody wants to look that up. And then I'm on my laptop with my travel screen. I'm in his dad's office overlooking the beach. And Monday morning pops up, and it's already a good day. Because my biggest position, and it was biggest position with everybody else that I had following me too, was Codex, and it opened with a gap up and then just rocketed. This thing was impressive. And I know you guys were in it too with John as well, but I'd been in it since from down here all the way back, I forget when that date was, but we loaded up. We took a little bit off just in case, because you can see it did pull back. And then it started going sideways. And I was like, oh boy, this thing looks interesting. I think we should add more. So we did. We added more on the 28th. And then it looked good. And then it just exploded. And then we took a little bit off right here. And since then, it's just kind of been hovering around. So that was a pretty good day. I think I'm going to be, that Wayne, it is exactly Cannon Beach. So Seaside, Cannon Beach, Arch Cape, that kind of area. But that's where we were. And that's, you can see big volume on that one. So pretty impressive. Very happy about that. So a little bit about me before we get too far. It's not going to be too long about this, telling my story. But basically, my dad introduced me to the stock market as a kid. I didn't know anything about it, of course, but I was exposed to it and knew it was important. And then he took me to my first stock trading seminar when I was 12. If you guys can imagine, 12-year-old sitting in a room full of traders is probably an odd sight to see, and if that kid was even paying attention. But I remember asking one of the traders who was presenting up there off to the side later, I said, hey, is it possible to really do this? Do people really make money from this? Like all these charts and graphs and whatever mumbo jumbo? And he said, absolutely. Nobody was born knowing how to trade, and that we all had to learn. And I thought that was really interesting because it meant that anybody could basically do this. If it's learnable, it's teachable and vice versa. So that was really inspirational and kind of carried me through definitely the years that I had to spend learning about this. So a little bit about me is that I graduated from Arizona University with a manufacturing engineering degree. So I'm very mechanically oriented, very engineer. I like to take that and I apply it to the market. And then I sidestepped and I actually went into financial advising with New York Life. Did that for a few years because I wanted to help people. I wanted to learn more about money. And then actually I kind of got back into trading again. And my mentors the people I was following, saw what I was up to and saw that I had this indicator. And he's like, hey, I think you should do something about this. Turn into a business. Go out there and teach people. And so that's when I started Moxie Trader back in 2016. And then I did that for a few years. And that's when I ran into John Carter. And now I'm here. So a little bit more about my interests, that being mechanically oriented. I have expensive hobbies. I fly planes. I like to drive cars. This is my 1977 Camaro. And horsepower is exciting. But if you don't know how to handle that, just like trading, you and your account can end up in a ditch. So that's the kind of important stuff I have to do. This was my road trip from Arizona to Colorado. And so kind of going back to the pilot thing, I'm a pilot, which has instilled a lot of discipline in me, because if you are reckless or don't follow your checklist, you can kill your account. And pilots use checklists. So before I joined Simpler, I studied from mentors who had charts like this. Now, I can't fault them too much. They were very wealthy and made a lot of money, and apparently were doing a great job. But man, I can't see anything in here. I have no idea what's going on. And they're no joke, his charts were like this. And it just made no sense to me. I thought, okay, well, this isn't going to work. I need something a little bit cleaner, because I need to actually see where the heck price is. And then I thought, okay, well, what about indicators? And I learned about a few indicators here and there with people and other mentors, and trying to figure stuff out. I thought, okay, well, one indicator is good, then more must be better, right? Well, that's where you get into the problem, because what happens if you have 10 indicators and 5 say yes and 5 say no, or 7 say yes and 3 say no? How do you know what to do? So again, I try and keep things really simple, because I don't want to get into analysis paralysis. And then going back to the airplane thing, this is our Glass Air 3. We were actually doing the annual on it just a few weeks ago, working on the engine, need some new tires. So we tear it apart every year, inspect it, replace parts that we need. But that's what I do. I work on this thing all the time. I've been doing this since I was a kid. So I take this stuff and I apply it to trading. And so the similarities are that you need a checklist. Pilots need checklists, and that's what we do. And then you have to have that process in order to know what it is you're going to do. You need to have A, B, C, D. You can't have A, C, D, B. And then you need to have rules, because without rules, you don't know what you're doing. Like, well, I need to go in when it's looking like this and looking like that. And what are you going to do? Like, how do you make sure that you follow these guidelines? And then within that, you need to make sure that you have discipline, because honestly, without discipline, then you're just going to ignore your rules and you're not going to follow a checklist, and then nothing matters. You might as well just be throwing wall at the money or outside your door or anything like that, because it just doesn't matter. So the three of these things together are crucial, and that's what has helped me trade the way that I trade and make me a good pilot along with a good trader. Now, part of the reason why I think a lot of you are interested in the market and why we do this and why we're all drawn to it is because we want to take control of our own time. We want to take control of our own money, all of these other various reasons. And I'm currently up here in Washington. I'm literally, I think our house is over here someplace. I'm looking at the water right now. And we can go out there on the boats. And I figured, well, since everyone's all locked up, I might as well just be with my family and hang out during the summer like I normally do. I get to do bacon duty. So that's my job when we are like Saturday, Sunday mornings. We got some very interesting people looking to eat on that. And then I gotta be honest, sometimes when the market's really slow and maybe I got my position set, I'll talk to my brother-in-law here and I'll say, hey, you wanna go wakeboarding? And we'll just wakeboard for an hour or so. Our house is somewhere right behind that one. So we'll go out there and do that. And that's kind of the fun thing of why I like to do what I do, being an end-of-day trader, and you have your stop set. Something happens, your stops get clicked off and you're safe. And so does Moxie still work in this market? And that was the biggest question that I had to kind of figure out when things really changed. I had to really hurry up and pivot, because what I was noticing is that the market would tank just when things looked great. Like, oh my gosh, everything looks amazing. This is amazing. This is amazing. And then it's like, nope, we're going to stuff it and we're going to go right back down. And these were the things that I had to figure out, okay, well, how do I see this coming so I don't get in just at the wrong time? And then because the market was doing so well, everything was going up. But at some point, they would kind of exhaust themselves and they needed to go sideways. And they don't just go sideways, they go sideways in a flag, and it's a very choppy flag. It's like a little dust storm in there, and it's crazy, And so that was the thing that I wanted to figure out. I was like, first of all, I think I can get out of this pretty easily. It's always fairly easy to take profits, but how do you make sure you don't get in at the wrong time when it's still just chopping around? So that was something that was really frustrating me, and I needed to kind of adapt. And then I kept missing out on hot moves. We've all been seeing this, right? We've all been seeing that there are some really big moves in this market, and I could either miss them or I'd be getting in too late, and it was so aggravating. I thought, I was just like, okay, this isn't working for me. I got to figure out what's doing and get on top of this thing. And so what I figured out was that I needed to change my time frames. You know, this is a fast market right now, and so the typical time frames that I would usually use, I had to actually now go lower and start being a little bit more nimble and see these things where they don't normally set up. So I had to adjust a little bit on that, and that's because the trades would come and go faster. And I think we saw that a lot. Things would pop up and then they'd come right back down just as quickly. And right here, big moves would collapse. And that's the thing that was really critical to knowing, like, hey, are we holding? Are we folding? Is this the got more power? Do we need to take our money away for now and get back in a little bit later? You know, what do we need to do? And with all this, with the new influence and the Fed and all this stuff, price began to behave differently. It just behaved differently. It's neurotic out there. You know, they always say it's kind of a crazy market, but right now it really kind of is, because we've got a whole lot of things going on, and we've got a lot of news going on out there too. And it's about a virus, which we don't know much about. And so all this different competing information comes out there. We've got a lot of different influences on the market. And so the biggest thing was you either adapt or you suffer. And the fact that I'm able to see past price to what's really going on inside, and that's what Moxie helps me do, I was able to see what's happening and start to adapt very quickly. So with this new paradigm of the Fed influence and new traders, I want to show you how I was able to quickly adapt. And really, I think this is kind of what some of the experience of my time has helped. And then also the Moxie indicator really just helps me see what's going on underneath the surface, so that even when things change, the Moxie indicator is still my best guide as to seeing what's going to be going on. So the core principles of how I trade are still intact, trust me. But we need to be aware of how the market is moving now. That's what's different. You know, same tools, same tricks, but now we have to apply them a little bit differently and be aware of the differences in the market and little sneakiness with the market nowadays. There definitely have been some sneakiness. And here's one of them. You guys remember the FOMC back on what, June 10th? So this was kind of interesting. And I've seen this before with the FOMC, and we got it again just, what was it, last week? I think last week we had the FOMC, and same thing. Typically, it's not always the day of the FOMC, it's the next day that happens. You see, I want to wait for what tomorrow brings before I go back into positions to make sure there isn't a trap door with the market. So the FOMC came out, and here's the thing. This is about my checklist, okay? The IWM came here and said, you better get out. My checklist said, you better get out. And same with the S&P, said, you better be out. So I hurry up and got out of a bunch of longs. And then we went and hedged with the UVXY, which is a triple leverage VIX, you know, the volatility. So that's the way I like to hedge. And then here is the next day. Notice, ran right into the underside of the moving average and then imploded. And then as far as the UVXY, that's where we got in. And the next day, it went up to about 50% the next day from the entry on the UVXY. And that's why I like to use that tool to hedge on this. And this is the 15-minute time frame. So if that isn't proof of a checklist and how this thing works, this is a repeatable setup. This is a repeatable thing. And so was this. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to be diving into in the class and what we're going to be talking about, so you guys can start seeing this. Basically trying to call the market's bluff. And so kind of going back to that checklist, right? I've talked about it a few times, talked about it here and how it just helped me. Do you guys have a checklist? Do you know what kind of process that you need to have before you get into a trade? Now, I know we kind of think about a checklist, it's kind of ubiquitous, we all know what it is, but did you know that it had to be invented? And it had to be invented actually back in the late 1930s when the Boeing Corporation was basically building what became the B-17. And a couple of really good test pilots crashed and killed themselves on takeoff because they missed a simple something on the takeoff procedures. And it wasn't that they weren't good, it wasn't that they're dumb or forgetful, it's that they realized that airplanes were starting to get so complex and there were so many steps that were needed in order to have a safe flight that we just forgot. You know, there were just too many things got in the way. And if you missed one thing, which in this case was one simple thing, and they killed them. And I think that's the same lesson that I can apply to trading, because when I started trading, it's simple. You just buy or sell, and you just wanted to go up or go down or something like that. But invariably, something would get in the way. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of things being thrown at you, and it can be a little bit overwhelming to your mind, even though we're just trying to buy or sell, right? And so I did this, and this is actually one of my original checklists. It's more like a flow chart, but it gets the same job done. And I mean, you guys can take a screenshot of this and look at it, but really, this is kind of my principle. Like, no, okay, well, is this a trampoline? No, wait. If it's a yes, well, then I have to confirm it, then I can go. Very interesting. And so I give this to you in the class, and give you this as part of the Moxie process. And so I show you exactly my checklist. And so once I had that checklist built, basically from the years of experience that I had gathered, the pilot in me, of course, felt right at home. I began to catch these lucrative trades more consistently. How about SRNE? Now, the SRNE continues to go up, but I'll take what I can get. Here's the entry. We got a little bit off at 25%. We took the rest of it off at 48%. Just stock. Just stock. Look at that thing. Looking really, really good. Now, if you took this and you said, okay, well, what kind of real money are we actually talking about? Well, if you took $10,000 and applied it to this trade, you would have brought back $3,600. I don't know about you, but that's some solid money. I'd be happy with that. And then how about this one? Do you guys remember Facebook and when they just kind of had their big implosion? I forget what it was for, and it's always funny when news kind of, or the charts precede news. That's kind of the interesting thing. So something like this, you're like, wow, how could I have seen that coming? Like nobody could have seen that coming. Like we would have just gotten run over, and then look, it came right back, and boy, we missed a big opportunity. Well, oftentimes you can actually see a move before it happens. So based on the Moxie method and my rules and the checklist right here, you should not be in this because you're running right into that moving average and the Moxie indicator is below zero. Same situation here. You're underneath that moving average and the Moxie indicator is below zero. You should not be long, all right? You should not be long in that situation. The other thing is, well, when it goes down like that, where's the opportunity to get in? Well, I knew there was an opportunity because number one, this is a trampoline move. And you guys will just keep hearing me talk about this stuff. I love the trampoline move. It's my best trade. And then where do you get in specifically? Because just because it's a trampoline move doesn't mean I know where to get in. Well, right here. And I can show you that why. So we're going to be diving deep into this one as well. So subtle divergences and subtle information. This is how I help figure out and make the call the bluff on the market. Basically, I use volatility. I use the UVXY to figure out when the market is bluffing here. And I think this was just shortly after, well, I guess shortly after 4th of July. I want to say this is the 7th, basically. And so when I do this and I combine it with the internals, I can see beyond price. I can see what price is not telling you. So as you can see here, price kept going up, but then we had a double bottom over here. And then we had a double top, but then this went higher. And this actually was during one of my live Moxie classes or sessions. And I told everybody in the class, I said, you should go long right here to hedge, or at least go long when the market goes down. And it was a quick little trade. I think we got off the next day for about 5%. And no big deal, but it was still a pretty perfect trade. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. I'm able to see these things. And that is just the most ideal entry right there. And those who are in the live class were able to take it with me. And so my secret for finding these precise stop trades, and again, I really emphasize precise. I'm an engineer. I like this kind of stuff. That's what I go with. So yet again, the Moxie trampoline setup worked like a charm. This is Space. I think everybody's well familiar with them. They just had earnings. I think they're back down to here. So you can't marry these things. But I guided the Moxie subscribers into this one with the detail, and it worked out perfectly. It took me a try to get in there. I had to do it on the second attempt, but we got in there. And then what we saw, double bottom, positive divergence, and we got in right there. And I said, just wait. It's going to take a little bit. Just wait. And then it came in here, bounced perfectly off of the hourly 50, and then it bounced again, and then we took some off here at the top. How good was that, right? Pulled back the next day, and then I thought, I think there's still a little bit more. So right here, took the rest off for 63. Between these two, the 52 and the 63%, if you had a $10,000 on it, you'd be pocketing $5,700. Again, that is some solid money right there. That is a really good payday, and that's just a couple days. Now, I will say, here's a little bit of motivation, inspiration. One time, not so far long ago, I used to be trading in $10,000 increments. Now I'm trading in $100,000 increments. So you just add a zero to this thing, and I netted $57,000 on this kind of move. And that's really what's inspirational about me. That is the reason that I love the stock market. That's why I originally got into it, because I could see the potential that, what, I'm making $5,700 now, but someday for the same work, for the same talent, for the same skill, for the same ability, I could be making $57,000. And that is why I like to trade the stock market. All right, so we kind of get back to the market behavior and how it's changed. So the current market has certain behaviors due to atypical influences that we don't normally have to contend with in what I say is a normal market. Some stocks are highly affected by news. We know that there's a lot of news going on right there because we're in the middle of a pandemic, but there are still repeatable configurations that I can teach you how to identify. And so here's another one. This is go-go. Down here, here's the entry. In fact, this is one I'm going to be going over in the class about this combination of setup that I love. And I love it, love it, love it. And you can see we got in right there, it took off, we got 40%, just make sure we pocket some. And then we let it go a little bit longer to see what's going to happen. And then I get out because my checklist says you better get out right here. We pocketed the rest with 50%. And what do you see? As soon as we got out, the very next day, this thing started to implode. So really, really important that you have your checklist and know when to get out. Again, $10,000 trade, you're netting $4,500 on that. Not too shabby. All right, so knowing when to get out, knowing when to get the heck out is crucial to preserving your hard-earned cash. So the Moxie rules and checklist said to exit on this particular one. So let me kind of show you with Goose. They had earnings. I don't trade earnings, so I wait till afterward. I thought, okay, let's get in this. Let's see if it's got some real Momo behind it. Well, kind of went a little bit. I think we made something like 3, maybe 4% on it. But the same thing. Just because I didn't make much money on it doesn't mean I can't get out. My checklist said you better get out because price is underneath this moving average, and the Moxie indicator is now dive bombing below 0. Very important to be getting out on something like that one. And so we only made 3 or 4%, but we didn't lose anything because look what happened next. So that's what I'm asking. Do you have crisp rules that keep your account safe? That is what I'm wondering. Now, of course, they don't all work out. My checklist helps me to get out, but it's not always perfect. But it's how I manage to keep losses manageable, which allows my account to grow. You got to keep those losses small. So here's Blue Apron. We're looking at a trampoline move. So we go in here, and I'm looking for price to continue up along the hourly 50. Well, it didn't do that for whatever reason. Just didn't do that. So you get out there with our stop loss. No big deal. All right. So we move on. We try something next. Now, how about this one? Losses are a normal cost of running a business. I think we all kind of understand that. We understand that trading is a business. We need to view it as a business. We're not just out here having fun, even though it is fun. Think about it like inventory, though. Utilities and employees. That's kind of what you need to think about of losses. But losses must be controlled, just like those expenses. You can't go pay your employees $100,000 even though you wanted to. You can't go buy the brand new everything if you wanted to. You got to be a little frugal sometimes, and making losses is kind of the same thing. So here on Stitch Fix, I was looking for price to follow that moving average, and I was looking for this thing to go up. Well, again, it didn't want to do that for whatever reason, so we got out right there. 3.5% loss, no big deal. And you know what though? You keep an eye on it, because I saw something. I saw that there was a reason that I was trading this, and that maybe it's trying. And here's the important lesson. Here's the important thing that we as traders, just because we make a loss or make a mistake, maybe it's not even our fault. Maybe we're just kind of interpreting it wrong or didn't quite see it. That's okay. But what you need to understand is just because you got it wrong this time doesn't mean that it might not be wrong another time. So if it sets up again, you got to go for it. Don't let a mistake or a loss hold you back. So this is where our loss was. And then I kept an eye on it. And then I saw this thing do what I'm looking for, double bottom, and then it started to pop up and it looked like it had a lot of energy. So we went right back in, 18% gain. And that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. Don't let these things go by just because you didn't get it right the first time. Sometimes it takes me multiple times to get in, but you need to have the right tools. And so this market is notorious for big ups and big downs, right? I think we all have been seeing that. Do you have the tools to take advantage and protect your account? So how about this for a good tool? Here's the Moxie price trigger, tells you to go up. Here's the Moxie price trigger, tells you to get out, or maybe things are going to be changing, right? Now, how does that do? That captures 90% of that move. Pretty slick, right? So the other thing, you can even see it coming. Here's your double top. There's the Moxie negative divergence. You can see this thing coming. That's what's really great about this. And then the whole point is, if you got in right through here, right here, you've given it all back. And that's when you need to know when to get in and when to get out so you can just deal with the other stuff and let it go by. Really important to do that. And what about treading water? This is kind of what I'm talking about for flags. How do we stay out of chop? Because we are seeing a lot of that too. Sometimes it's just not the right environment to really be in the market, and we need to figure out when that is. So when names shoot up and flag for long periods of time, that's really important. And if you guys think about the time value of your money, that is crucial. Why should we, even if we don't lose money, why should we have our money be sitting in something like this for basically a month. I think this actually came out to be about a month. Maybe it was 25 days from when it said to exit to when it said to get in. That is 25 days that you are just having your heart attack every time it goes up and then down and then up and then down, and you're getting nowhere, and your money is just hanging out. And if you're trading options, there's no way you can survive this, because I know you guys don't trade more than about 25 days worth of options. So it's crucial that if you're trading options that you get out when you need to and you get in when you need to, and you avoid all this kind of stuff. Very, very important. In fact, here you go. Here's your setup. There's your double bottom. There's your divergence. And then there's where price gets over the moving average. So fantastic. And then you can load up again right there where the Moxie price trigger tells you to get in. So, and we talk about, okay, this market, everything's going up in this market, right? We've kind of been like, hey, don't short this market, which for the most part is true. You don't want to be short in this market, but there are some nuances. So these are hourly charts. This is Chipotle and Nikolai and Stitch Fix. So Chipotle doing pretty good, then took off. And then you can see Stitch Fix, double bottom, took off. But why did Nikolai, or whatever, how you want to pronounce it, not do so well? Why did that happen? And you could see that with the Moxie indicator telling you this doesn't look very good. And then again, Moxie price trigger, and then under the moving average, and then implosion. So perhaps, if you want to short it, there are possibilities, but you definitely need to know when to not be in something, because it's going to run you over like this. So important, you need to know when to take your money, have a stop. For me, I like to use a stop. Some people don't, that's okay. Maybe use an alert, whatever works for you. But something like this, you need to know. So we got in here because of everything it was telling me, and it jumped up, and we made 17% in 8 days on max R. Now, I thought maybe this thing would keep going. It did not, and that's okay. We moved our stop up, and it took us out, no big deal, and that's great, because look at that thing. It went vertical, just straight down. So I'm happy that I have a stop. Sometimes it gets me out a little bit too early, but I'm still happy to have it. $10,000 on that, $1,700 in 8 days. Not bad. All right, now we talk about daily moves. A couple of names here. We have Etsy, we have TradeWeb, and then we have Wingstop. All right, so why did Etsy kind of do this and then take off again? And why did Wingstop come into the moving average, take off again? But why did TradeWeb come in here and then roll down? And could we have seen that coming? And yes, absolutely, we could have seen this coming. This kind of stuff I'm going to be talking about in the class. There is a way to see that this isn't going to work out. So one, you can either not get in, two, you get out if you are in, or three, if you really feel like it, you can maybe go short these things. So I know a lot of you guys really like to go short on stuff. I'll teach you how to do it. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'll definitely teach you how to do it. Powerful patterns out there, right? So here's something really interesting. I know that this has been a very fast market, and I said I've been having to go down to the lower time frames, but there are still really big things setting up. And even these big moves that we've been seeing had to set up someplace. Tesla set up on the weekly chart. Some of these other ones set up on the weekly chart. Same with this S&P, it's set up on the weekly chart. Because of the way that I see these patterns, I help traders find setups before they fire off. So this is First Solar, and this is on a weekly time frame. I'm sure some of you probably heard me a little bit in the options room and all that kind of stuff. What is this? This is a certain pattern that I always talk about, and that was pretty lucrative on the weekly charts. I'll show you on this next one. How about this? So longer term setups, and my subscribers now know and love the now famous elf shoe pattern, and it's really been helping me out, and I think it's been helping out a lot of other people. But due to the unprecedented COVID crash, there are potentially huge moves still ready to be setting up in a variety of sectors on the weekly time frame. And you know that if they're setting up on the weekly time frame, they've got some energy behind them when they're actually going to get going. So for example, this is XLF. Now this is actually done better than when I recorded this. I forget, maybe that was the date, but here's your elf shoe, right? We got the elf shoe, and it's starting to set up. And even today, if you look at the market, if you look at the XLF down on the daily hourly chart, it's not looking too bad. It's starting to set up, and I think it's coming from a weekly time frame. And these are the sectors and sector rotations that I want to be talking to you guys about in the class. How about Sleep Number? Here's an example. Sleep Number moved 88% from the elf shoe bottom on the daily chart. What? Yeah, I know. We're looking at this being like, what? What are you talking about? It's Sleep Number. How is Sleep Number making 88%? It made 88% from here to here. It made like 100 and something percent, 120 or so percent from there to there. So as crazy as this is, as weird as this is, I believe these kinds of moves are not over and there are still stocks and sectors gearing up for similar moves. One of them I just wrote about last week. So if you guys want to go over and see what it is, profitpilot.com, it's a good place to just check out. I do a lot of writings about what the market's doing and how things are going and what I'm seeing. And it's just a good resource. If you guys like how I teach and how I talk, it's a good place to kind of check in, find some of the stuff that I write about. But check out the one last week where I cover that, and it's kind of related to Sleep Number. And I think there's something going on with it. So keep that one in mind. Now, which ones though? Not everybody's a winner, right? Some of them appear to be ready, coming into the moving average to looking real sweet. Is it going to work? I think this actually dipped down and now is back up. But then others have not been so lucky. They managed to cross the moving average, then they got rejected. Now they're just lollygagging around. And what are they going to do? And that's the thing, that either if you get in this, well, if you didn't get out, you're now right back to where you began. Or you need to just make sure you don't trade something that just isn't going anywhere. You need to catch something that really is going to go. And that kind of precision and that kind of timing is the kind of stuff that I do, and that's how I can teach you and show you what to do about it. So I see that there are a couple questions about scanners and how do I find these and all that stuff. So how do I find them? This is the answer. Because of the Moxie price trigger scanner, I was able to find ALT in this one. So right here, you can see the Moxie price trigger scanner. I put it out to a trade in the channel, and it immediately began to move 12%. It was kind of funny being in the room with everybody. Like, holy cow, this thing started moving. It's like, we've been in 20 minutes and we already got 12%. It was fantastic. I love having a community like that. So you can see right here, it started to move, and the next day it gapped up. Cool, I'll take 26% overnight. So we cashed out a little bit, and I said, I still think that there's more in this. And so the next day it gapped up again, 45%. And then we just took pretty much all of it off at that point because, hey, 2 days, 45% gain. Yeah, pretty great. And that is the same thing. If you imagine if you option traders want to be taking the kind of trades that I put out there with options, be my guest. Now, a little bit of follow-up about ALT. During the Moxie live trading session, that was the one I kind of referenced earlier on the 7th, I covered it again, and I said it was looking great, and I think that this thing was still looking good, and I think there's more potential in it because we had a double Moxie trampoline move right there, and I think the 7th was right about there. I said, yeah, this thing still looks pretty good. Now, as it turns out, I had one account with a little position still left in ALT. It's like I practically forgot about it. And then this thing started to move up. In the last hour of this day, right here, it moved up 55% in an hour, out of nowhere. I guess some news or something came out. And what's amazing is I suddenly got a whole bunch of emails and a whole bunch of comments and posts from a bunch of subscribers who said they actually got it and they got the 50% move. And then they just tapped out right up there. So I definitely took some off because I was like, well, that's a gift and I'm not gonna waste that one. But I said, I think that there's something crazy going on here. I'm just gonna leave a little bit left. So I left a little bit on, and the next day it opened up even more. So I pocketed this for 138% and 180%, all the way from back here with a 24 and 48% gain. So that's the kind of stuff that I like to do, and that's what we're looking at. And in this market, it's possible, and we are catching them. All right, so kind of going back to that watch list, new tools. I got the new Moxie watch list. It's easier to spot opportunities quickly because you get to actually look at this. And what's neat about it is if you want, one of the ways that I've been looking at it is I kind of could pull up sectors. So Thinkorswim has kind of pre-built watch lists based on different sectors. And you can apply this to those various sectors and see, does healthcare look pretty green, or is it mostly red? What about oil? Maybe oil's looking red, maybe oil's looking green. Maybe you look in energy or something, or I don't know, tech, and you're starting to see a whole bunch of these crossing above and crossing above. And what it's telling you is that the Moxie indicator is going from negative to positive, and it's starting to fire off a lot of triggers. These are also sortable. So you can go over here and you can sort it by Moxie trigger, and you can do a 2-day look back or a 5-day look back. And if you look in your watch list, or you look in your sector watch list and you sort it, and you just see a whole bunch of these things lit up green, well, you might want to start looking around there because it says something is starting to jump up and move. The other thing is we also built this for the downside. The other thing is, what if you start seeing a whole bunch of these red and they start crossing down below? Well, you might not want to be there. Maybe you want to short it, or maybe you just want to get out and make sure that something's not happening. So this is some pretty cool stuff that Eric helped design and that we're starting to really use. And I think that basically this says the same thing. But yeah, the 2 and 5 day look back. This one's the 2-day. We changed the color because it's hard to see. And then the 2-day. So these are really cool. We have them for the up, we have them for the down. very impressive. And you know, you look at something like this, ACAM, it's green, it's green, it's green. Maybe you want to take a look at that one, see if there's an opportunity in there. And so it's really easy to use it to evaluate entire sectors. And then it's streamlined scanning for the names that you already watch. Right? Real cool tools that we're starting to implement with the Moxie system. So all this talk about Moxie, I assume that most of you are familiar with me and the Moxie indicator, but if you aren't, because I know we got a lot of new people out there, you know, this is what the Moxie is. I keep my charts clean and simple. This is exactly a screenshot of my charts. And I keep it clean and simple. You can see I actually gray out price because I just want to know where price is in relation to the moving average. And then I keep the indicator simple. I keep it stair steps. Now, this is kind of where I talk about it. We'll go more in the class, but stair steps. It's kind of like where they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? There is a lot of information that is actually packed into the fact that this is a stair step. You can see when momentum is coming in or coming out. Really very interesting, and it's much easier for me to see and make decisions and decipher something based on these stair steps than basically squiggly lines and having to read arcs. And then you have the positive and negative areas. You know, energy is positive, energy is negative. You don't want to be long when it's down here, and you don't want to be going long when it's coming down like that. And then divergences. Love divergences. Look at this. Here's your level. Here's your positive divergence. There's the Moxie price trigger for precision. And then we can see, here's your top, here's your down, there's your Moxie price trigger. Don't want to be in there. How about this? Here's your double buy. There's your level. There's your divergence. There's your Moxie price trigger. Boom, go up, and then out, and then up, and then, you know, maybe it gets a little messy down here. There you go. That's how you trade the bulk of this. Really, really simple to be doing this kind of stuff. So, kind of coming to this, you know, why reinvent the wheel? Okay, I have been doing this for a very long time. I've had a long time that I had to learn. I had to lose money. I had to work on all this stuff. I had to do all the growing pains that we as traders have to do. And what I'm doing is I'm starting to package it into like a ready to go turnkey product and a education seminar for you guys. So you might as well shortcut the years that I've spent studying the market and make these profitable stock patterns that I can just directly convey to you. Hey, I found out what works. How about I just show you what works? And now you guys can get up and running without having to do the years of figuring it out on my own, the way I had to. And then with the Moxie indicator, you know, I had to invent that thing. I had to come up with it. And then once I actually had it, I had to figure out how does it work? I had to come up with the rules around it. So I had growing pains around designing and actually refining the Moxie indicator and the method. Just because you have an indicator doesn't mean you know how to use it. That was really the thing. It took me a year that once I had it, like, okay, now I got to figure out how to work this thing and what are the rules. And now I'm doing pretty darn good at it. And now I'm going to convey that to you guys and show you how it all works. And then, of course, as I said, I've been seeing a bunch of questions, scanners to find the Moxie price triggers and the trampoline moves. My two favorite setups. And number one, trampoline setup. I love that thing. So that's how I've been making a lot of money this year. And it's out there, and it will help you find those trades for you. So how can you do it? Now, here's just a couple little bit of trader psychology stuff, right? You got to trust yourself, and you got to trust the checklist. And what I can do is I can teach you how to do that. I can teach you my process, how to trade this particular volatile market. The class is going to be all current examples, all about what is going on exactly right now. And what's important is you just got to trust yourself in the checklist. You know, if you start getting some experience, you trust it. Now you know what's going to happen on the right side of the screen where you can't see the future, but you kind of know what's going to happen because you've seen it enough times. And then I keep things real streamlined. I like my charts simple. I like things clean, easy. And what I'm trying to do, especially in this market, is find the simplest way to see what has changed in this market, because things have changed. I'm telling you, I lost some money when things were getting going and it kept having, like, you know, hits and just kind of getting stopped out. Now we're doing much better. And then once you have all that, you just stick to the reliable setups. I have the same method. I'm just applying it in a different way based on the current market. That's really what it's come down to. You know, it's the same old thing. Just now I had to adapt a little bit, and it's excelling. I mean, this is a great market right now to be taking advantage of this stuff. And then you got to be a little bit diligent. And I think this is where, you know, people who like to, you know, maybe they have a day job and stuff, they come to me and they like me to bring trades to them, and then they go apply the trade to it. So, you know, whether you want to be diligent and you want to be doing this stuff, you just need to save time by using the scanners that find you the right trades at the right time. You don't want to be going and scanning all, you know, 1,500 stocks and trying to figure out something. No, you want maybe 50 of them brought to you that you can then go and sort through. And that's what the scanners are for, and that's what they do. So with this whole market and everything, I was getting a lot of questions about the new behavior of the market. So I put together a class of all the things I was forced to change. Like, okay, what was the old ways? What did I now figure out now, and how am I excelling in this market? And now I could share them with you. And so that's what we're looking at. We got the 100,000 day setup, learning how to leverage the Moxie stocks in this Fed-fueled market. And really what it is, we got August 8th, we're going to do the indicator installation session if you don't already have it, but the class, the big deal is the class, August 8th. So that's this coming Saturday. I'm still putting some finishing touches on it because I wanted it to be as current as possible. And the market is always a living, breathing thing. So I want to make sure it's up to date and all that. And then we've got a bunch of live trading days. So let me kind of get into that a little bit. Don't worry, everything is recorded. So if you can't make one of these dates, don't think, oh, well, I can't sign up for it. Everything is recorded. People ask a lot of questions in these classes. I'm interactive. I don't just plow through and show everything. I really work with you. I talk to you. I answer questions. And if somebody's hung up on something, or you guys aren't understanding concept, I go back in there and I dive deep to make sure everybody gets it before we move on. So we've got 3 basic packages, to get you kind of in the door. You got this one, $497. You get the class, you get the indicator, you get the scans, and then you get that new Moxie watch list. Okay. So if you just want to get the basics, you can definitely get up and running with this. But then I don't know about you, but for me, when I ever went to school and I was doing stuff, I was always hands-on. A classroom's one thing. You can teach me how to change a tire, but let me go actually change the tire myself. I could read about how to rebuild an engine all day long, but until I actually do it, that's when I really learn. And that's really where these live trading days come in. So for a little bit more, you get 2 days of live trading, and then for a little bit more, you get even more. Then this is what I was kind of thinking about. I had to use this the other day when my dad and I talk about mortgages and selling a house, and that what you actually get for the value. So for here, we're kind of looking at this. I said, okay, so it's $200 more, and you get 2 more days of live trading. So let's cut that down. It's $100 per day, and then we do 3 hours, probably a little bit more than 3 hours. You break that down over $100. It's $30 an hour to learn how to trade and how to make money. And I don't know about you, but if for paying $30 an hour to get direct one-on-one contact with me, with John, with any of our traders to come out there and learn how to do this stuff and actually talk to you. You can ask us questions and say, well, I don't get it. What do we do about this? Or you can bring a trade to me and say, hey, this didn't work out for me, what I was missing, and I can address that concern for $30 an hour. I mean, that's some really good, bang for your buck and value. So the basic package here, $497, you're just going to get the stuff. You're going to get all the parts and pieces, and you'll get the class. Fantastic. Not a bad deal at all. You're going to be able to see the time frames that I use to adjust with this, some of the other stuff that I haven't been using that I've kind of ditched. And then basically, the tried and true method of what I'm doing to turn the biggest profits I've had all year. And I've been showing you guys. It's been the best year ever so far. And I have the strict rules and checklists for entering the positions. If you guys have ever been struggling to figure out, what am I making these mistakes for? I keep making the same mistakes. Well, I give you a checklist to tell you how to actually do these things. Just follow the checklist. It works pretty darn well. And then you'll see how I'm actually able to call the spy's bluff and know when basically a trapdoor is going to be opening up on us. So really important stuff. Then you get the indicator and how to read all this stuff. And then we'll go over the 100,000 day and then the 80,000 day, right? We got that one too. So I can add that to it as well. In fact, maybe we should call this 180 right there. And then for any of you guys, because as I said, I know we got a lot of Moxie members here and a lot of simpler subscribers. If you already have the indicator and you already have some of these packages, don't worry. Just give sales CS a call, customer support, text them. Call them, don't text them. Call them, email them. We're going to do it basically a la carte. We're going to make sure everybody's taken care of because we know that there are a couple bits and pieces here, and we'll get you well taken care of. So don't worry, don't fret about that. We'll take care of you, make sure that you get exactly the package that you want. And then we talked about it a lot, the trampoline move. That is part of the scanner. We're going to be going over that and show you all the ways that I do it, and we'll go surfing for them. So during those live trading days, we will actively go looking for trades and seeing if there's something that we can do to set them up. So it's going to be pretty good. And then, of course, you get the improved Moxie watch list. We're going to go in that. It's going to be pretty fun. As I said, I think this thing's pretty killer because I like being able to take the triggers and sort through them through each of the sectors. And it kind of shows you some pretty quick stuff all over. All right. And then the 2 pro live trading days. You know, as I said, you got to put the rubber to the road. You can be in class, learn the theory, see all this stuff all the time, but really, where does it all come together? It's when you put the rubber to the road and you actually start getting traction. So I'm going to be here. I look exactly like this right now. Maybe my hair is not looking quite as good because it's COVID and my sister hasn't cut my hair for a few weeks because everything else is closed. So, but just imagine me, you know, sitting here talking to you guys. We're going to be making some money. We're going to be having a good old smile like that. I think we're going to have fun. And let's go sign up for some of these pro live trading days. And then the elite package, as I said, you know, this might be the cream of the crop, but hey, we're here to help you learn how to make money, how to get out there, how to feel successful. And actually, now that I mention it, that is one of the things that I get from a lot of people who come take the class and subscribe to me. They say, man, I've never seen it this way. You actually add a whole lot of more structure to trading than I've ever had. And I now feel better about what's going on. I feel like I can handle this more. I feel like I have a better grip on it and actually can see things. You know, it's not like just looking at the matrix anymore. I can actually see things. And so essentially for $30 an hour, you come out here and you get right next to me and you come and you actually look at the markets doing what I do, talk to you, answer your questions, and we figure out everything that is going wrong either in your trading or what we need to do to improve. And we'll go take some trades. We'll go see if we can make some money out there. All right, so once again, we got this. And then just one more piece. You know, if you guys need to put this on a payment plan, hey, no problems. PayPal is there for you. They've got this really great thing where it's 0% interest for 6 months, piece of cake. It would be fantastic. You can even put it on a credit card. You can go out there, we can make some trades. Maybe we can even come back there and you can go pay it off early. But that's the kind of stuff that we'd love to do. We have options for you. If you want to put it on a payment plan like this, PayPal is great for that. And then we can you know, just make sure we take care of you and have a good time with it. So I'll be leaving it with this. Let me take a look at all of your questions. I know that you guys were kind of bopping around down there. Oh, why is that? That's where. Okay. So let me know if you have any kind of questions. Let's see. David, actually, I don't know. I don't know how many people come in each class. It's usually a pretty solid number, a few hundred people. Not everybody is able to watch it all at once. And it's pretty manageable. I'm there for several hours talking to you guys. And remember, if one person has a question, that it's probably 100 other people have the same question. So as I answer questions, it definitely gets addressed. And it really is some pretty good personal, you know, nearly one-on-one attention. Jasmine, yeah, mentioned that I've been managing my family's retirement account. So you're still 10% underwater. That's not too bad considering what happened, you know? Well, so as far as 401k strategies and all that stuff, I mean, as I said, 10% is not too bad considering what has happened. I just kind of go and I look at the options that I have and I look at each one. And each option that you can put your money into has a ticker. And you go look at that ticker and you just go look at the chart and see which chart you would actually put your own money on. So just trade it that way. And that's kind of the best way that I've done it. And KB, the quarter alert service. I think Mandy could probably answer your question for that one, because I think that it might come with one of the packages, or maybe we can make a deal if you already have the indicator. I forget, but that's going to be a customer support question. And Moonbot, no, there is no connection to the multi-squeeze system. The Moxie indicator is standalone. It's something I came into Simpler with. And Trade Warrior, yep, using the Thinkorswim platform. If anybody is wondering about other platforms, we are trying to get on a couple others, but it will absolutely not work on TradeStation. We've had Eric and a few other programmers try to build it for TradeStation, and it just won't work on TradeStation. Kind of a bummer. Oh, and as far as max losses, well, I always set a stop loss. So sometimes, you know, I keep my losses between 3%. Yeah, maybe I'll bump them up to 8%, depending if it's a pretty radical stock. But I always keep my losses tied in because I use stop losses. So it's not about max loss for the indicator. It's about how your trading methodology is and what your stop is. Well, Nick, so the difference between the 15-minute high and low, we'll definitely talk about that in the class. But basically precision. Response time. You know, the 15-minute high does better with higher time frames or longer term trades. The low is going to be more about you know, day trading or quick trading. It's just, you know, what kind of precision do you need to see? And then how many positions do I have open at any given time? I probably always have about something, but I'll go down to either 0, 1, or 2 if the market's really just in a funk and not looking too good. And if the market's really rip roaring and I see a lot of stuff, I will go up to about a max of 10. I try to keep it less than 10. But I like to trade, and I like to, yeah, I just like to have positions on because there are a lot of things sometimes to really take advantage of there. So I like to go out there and actually have quite a few positions. If you assume that's quite a few, but yeah, you know, on average 4, 5, 6, 7. And Deepak, no, I don't think you need to have the dashboard work. You just need to have Thinkorswim. Let's see. And no, I don't do day trades. So for me, I'm a swing trader. I'm an end of day trader. So no, you don't have to worry about the $25,000 account day trading limit. During the class, I can teach you how to day trade, the principles. And this is really what's amazing about Moxie and how I trade and all this stuff. The principles of how you trade with Moxie and using the indicator, they can be applied on the weekly all the way down to the 2 minutes. So I have people who have done this. Oh, and I think there's another question too about Forex and futures. Yes, the Moxie indicator works on all that stuff. I actually had one subscriber show me a screenshot of a 2-minute day trade that they took on the ES futures. And I said, wow, that is amazing. That actually looks just like the some swing trade that I took on an hourly chart for, I think it was Stitch Fix at the time. So the same principles, same rules, they apply on any time frame. Warren, you must be new around here. Do we have someone on your team that deals with only options? Of course, that is basic. I'm like the only one that deals with just stock. So yeah, we got a lot of options people for you. So Rebecca, we'll get into that with the class. Those are very specific details about how to actually trade, but we'll definitely get into that in class, and we'll get into it during those live trading sessions. Like the live trading sessions are 3 hours. We're gonna have a lot of time to talk about a lot of different examples and show you how to do this stuff. You know, I'm not pulling any punches, not hiding anything. We're gonna be there for you, teaching you how to do this. And Paul, it is for stocks or options. What I do is I teach you how to trade charts. So if you can figure out when and where a stock is gonna go up or down, you can either just buy stock or you can take a trade with options. I'm not teaching you how to trade options. I'm teaching you how to trade charts, and then you can apply however you want to the trade. So I teach you how to read charts, and once you know how to read charts, then you can do anything you want. That's really the key. I teach you how to trade. And RT, yeah, I do provide entry, stops, targets, all that kind of stuff. Yep, you know, when I put out trades, I tell you exactly what I'm looking for. I don't do targets because I never know where price is going to go, so I don't do targets. But I do give you the entry and I give you the stops. And Trade Warrior, no, I don't have any insights. I know there are a bunch of mergers and platform changes, but no, I have no idea what's going on with that stuff. I don't even know. And Kurt, yep, there is an alert service with Moxie. It is the Moxie Mastery. So if you're interested in that, we do have that. I saw Mandy just texted that out for you. And Sam, my stop criteria is the same thing. That's going to be in the class. You can answer all that kind of stuff. And the indicator only works in Thinkorswim for now. And yeah, Ken, so for me, I am just a stock trader. So I just trade with shares. I buy the shares, I sell the shares, I go short if I need to sometimes. But as I said, I trade the charts. And if you guys, when I put out, say, a buy and I say, hey, I'm going to buy this and I think it's going to go long for these reasons, if you guys want to trade using options or an option strategy, by all means. I have a lot of people that do that and are very successful with it. And Jasmine, yes, this works very well with the squeeze. Trust me. I have the squeeze on my own charts and it works just fine. In fact, when you kind of see both of them line up, the Moxie indicator will help give you a direction because the squeeze is just a squeeze. You know, it just tells you you're consolidated. It doesn't necessarily tell you which way it's going to go. And that's where I step in and with my trading, the way that I see things, I actually tell you where which direction, how things are going to go, and almost kind of win. So they do pair very, very well together. Let's see, the difference between the Elite package and the Moxie Trader Mastery Program. The Moxie Trader Mastery Program is the alert service. So that's where we go out there, you subscribe, I send out alerts. We do have a once a month trading session. But then the Elite package here is going to be just the class, the tools, and then 4 days of live trading. So those are going to be standalone. The Mastery Program is a consistent monthly or quarterly, rather, alert service. And RT says, did you get my question? I don't know. Maybe send that again. I keep looking down this thing. Oh yeah, it looks like I answered it. Yeah, do I provide entry, stops, targets? Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, shady or shady. Yeah, I'll go over that. Talk about what kind of strategies, because what I do, and this is where I was saying earlier in the presentation, is for those of you who trade options, knowing where price will or won't go can be very important. And so I can tell you, based on the training and the indicator and how I trade, hey, price is most likely not going to go here, or it's starting to run out of energy. Maybe you can start looking at selling something here, or it looks like it's going to turn around and bottom, and you can sell puts, that kind of stuff. Yeah, of course. Well, JP, if you're still having troubles understanding how to draw a divergence, well, then this is what signing up for those live trading days and maybe signing up for the class again, because we're going to be talking about these current stuff. And that's where we just show you example after example after example, and then you just have to kind of get the eye for it. But yeah, I just like to go through this and show you how we do it. But that's the best answer I can get, is got to come to the live classes, and I'll just over and over and over, repetition, and you'll start seeing this stuff, and then you'll figure out where to draw these lines and divergence lines and figure out how they start to work. So SP, the 15-minute chart has double Moxie lines because that was a way on the 15-minute chart for me to get to reduce false positives. The two lines actually interact with each other in such a way that they tell me more of a story with two of them than just one of them. And we'll be going through that in the class as well. So it's pretty powerful. And no, there's no 30-minute Moxie, and that's just because of my testing. I've just figured out that I don't need it. I trade on the 15-minute time frame, the hourly, or the 5-minute, and so that's what works for me. And no, the tools are going to be available before the class, because clearly you're going to need the tools, or it'll be best to have the tools as we go through the class. I want to make sure that you guys have the tools and can look at it and tinker around with it and see it on your own screen as I'm going through the class. So yeah, you'll definitely have them beforehand. And Nair, yeah, I do daily alerts. So for example, I think I put out 3 trades today. I want to say yesterday I put out 4 or 5. It just kind of depends on what the market is doing. Sometimes we put on a bunch of positions and we ride them for a while, or there's just nothing to do, or we put on a couple positions, we get stopped out the next day. It just depends on what the market's doing. Trade Warrior suggest a minimum account value to trade stocks. You just need enough money to buy 1 share of a few different stocks. That's all you need. So pretty small to get started. And RC, I use EMAs and SMAs. So I use the 8 and 21 EMA, and I use the 50 and 200 SMA. Jay Nori, let's see. So this is 1 day for a total of 10 hours. 10 hour. Well, the strategy class, it's probably going to be about 4, maybe 5 hours. Maybe with breaks, it'll be about 5 hours. So that, there's 5 hours right there. And then you're going to get 2 and 2 days live trading. So 3, 6, 12. Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of hours of me. It's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be well over 10 hours. So 12 plus 5, I guess, 17. And Jeff, it does work for all asset classes. It works better for some than others, I will say that. just as the way it works better for some stocks than it does for some stocks, because it's a momentum-based indicator and kind of the way that it interprets price. If it's a very choppy or erratic stock, then it just won't read very well. It'll be like trying to look at any other kind of indicator. Like, what if your RPM gauge was just buzzing all over the place? And then it's kind of hard to look at it. The same thing if you use it with Forex, or if you use it with futures, or use it bonds, or anything else like that. In fact, I had a subscriber today tell me this morning, he's like, I love the indicator, I love the method. He's over in China, and he said he was using it on the Shanghai index and some other Chinese index over there. He's like, I'm making good money. And I was like, wow, I guess I'm international now. So yeah, it works. You just have to look at, see how, you basically just have to look and say, does the Moxie indicator work well on this particular index or stock or any asset class? But as long as it looks good and smooth, yeah, it works. And Esther, yeah, there are instructions. Duncan has done very well, a very good job of creating instructions and videos. Basically, we try and make everything as easy as possible for you. And we have good help sheets, we have instruction guides, and we have videos. So yeah, won't be a problem. And then Gator, yeah, that's going to be one of the questions for the tech support people, making sure that you got all the downloads and all that stuff. So Papa Kilo, yeah, I do use multiple time frames. It helps me see most of the stock market world that way. And so how do I resolve if they're giving conflicting information? Well, it depends on the time frame and what kind of conflicting information I'm getting. Maybe I just don't take a trade. If it's confusing out there, I don't take a trade. If I don't see that something makes sense, don't take a trade. So that's probably the simplest, easier answer, probably not the one you're looking for. But then in this current market, it depends on what kind of strength I'm looking at. If I see a setup, say on the 15-minute time frame, but I don't see it somewhere else, then I might just realize that this is a 15-minute setup. It's a 15-minute trade. It's going to last for a few days. But if I see a setup on the hourly chart, well, the hourly is going to be a stronger chart at a time frame, and so maybe this is going to set up for a week or two, and vice versa. If you keep moving up the time frames, they should be stronger and stronger setups, and so they should last longer as they start to go. But we will definitely be getting that into the class, into the live tradings. You show me something if you want. You're like, hey, this doesn't make sense, or it's looking confusing to me. Great, we'll pull it up, we'll look at it, and I'll say, oh yeah, this is really confusing. We're getting a bunch of conflicting things. Don't take a trade because it doesn't make sense. Or I'll say, no, you need to look at it this way, and here's what I see, and this is why. And maybe I'll show you another example because I see these things all over the place, and then something like that would work. All right, I think we are pretty much coming to an end of these questions. Yes, Carlos, the Moxie Trader Mastery is different from the options group and the options mastery. My alerts come through the Moxie Mastery dashboard, and so, or through the app, so the Simpler Trading app. So if you are a member of the Moxie Trader Mastery, that's where the alerts will come from. They don't come through the options because I have my own channel basically for Simpler Trading, and that's where you have to get it. So, all right, everybody, I think that has pretty much answered everything. I did the best I could to read through all these things. Thank you, everyone at Simpler, Mandy, Daryl, the rest of the team. Really appreciate you guys helping me answer these questions and making sure everything is up and running. So once again, appreciate it. You guys, I'm having a great time with this. I'm really looking forward to the class. I'm here. I love trading. I'm having a good time. It's clearly by the account gains, and I want to make sure that you guys get this. So, come join. That's what we're here for. We're going to help you learn and start doing this on your own, or if you want to do the alert service, at least we got you a hand holding to where we can bring things to you, and then you can make your own decisions based on that. So until then, a few days from now, I'll see you guys on Saturday. Otherwise, I'll see you in the options room or just see you around. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to go get some dinner, and I will talk to you later. So long.